Hello everyone. This morning I flew my ZMR 250 and I tried for the first time to fly around some trees. It's not something I've done before, so I thought I'd share my experience with you guys as I went. So I picked an area that I'd known had a lot of trees cut down so it wasn't too dense. As you can see, a bunch of saplings being planted here. But it looks like my nerves got the better of me because the first thing I did was I was a bit wimpy on the takeoff and immediately flipped it over, which is a bit rubbish. So here's my first flight, and I'm immediately being quite gentle with how I'm flying. What I'm finding is although the trees are quite sparse, as you can see in the Mobius footage, I'm finding it very hard to pick out one from the other with the perspective that the FPV camera gives you. It was really quite tricky to get my eye in. Although I started getting the general hang of it and started feeling slightly better, this really didn't come together on the first lipo. The problem I was having is throttle control. When going around a corner, I couldn't allow it to flip out, so I should say drift out. So it needed a lot more throttle round the corners than I was giving it, and hence I went down here. This is in 2 to 3 feet of undergrowth. It was quite tricky to find. Fortunately, I've got the beeper. If anyone's flying without a beeper, I think you're mental. I really need it. Unfortunately, I hadn't learnt my lesson here, and I did exactly the same thing on the same battery, almost immediately. But this is on to my second lipo now. I'm still at the same site, but I'm feeling a little bit better. At some point in this flight, I'm not exactly sure when, I got I got my eye in. I could start to pick out the trees a little better. I was looking ahead to seeing where my next turn was going to come up, and I was generally a lot happier with it. I even started trying to pick out obstacles to go under. The only problem I really had with these is all these little teeny weeny twigs that stick out, which you really can't see through your live camera, but it seemed okay. So by lipo 3 I changed position over to the other side where the trees were a little bit denser, and trying to go a little bit faster and getting a nice clatter through there. There's something very satisfying when you have a clatter but you stay in the air. And I was starting to relax here and doing some little rolls and flips, albeit badly. So the other side had more trees, more undergrowth, slightly harder to pick out where I was going, but I was starting to relax into it more. And there's me doing an excellent FPV gnome impression. So by the time I got to my last lipo, and I've only got 4 of these ones, I was really starting to enjoy it. And I'd had 3 tuning profiles, and this was the last one where the PIDs were down quite a way, so it felt pretty smooth but very much still locked in, and my speed was going up, and my lines through the trees were a little bit better. Actually, this one, it was only got to here when I thought, oh, I hope I can find my way back in and don't end up in the top of a tree. But yeah, there was a nice big space for me. You can see here that it's really quite sparse over this side. The other side's just a little bit thicker. So the only thing about being more confident is it seems to be a bit more jerky in my movements, where I'm prepared to fly a bit faster but suddenly have to make quite quick corrections. Again, I found another little tree to sort of go under, which is all good fun, and then almost hit the other tree. Always have a celebratory roll on these things. This path was good fun to fly along, but it felt a bit like cheating. It's not really going through the trees, is it? I could imagine making quite a fun little race course just by saying let's go around that tree and through that tree, and having a lot of fun in this area. Again, another satisfying clatter through there. My props were not in the best state after all this, but they really are. One final clatter for fun. When I got home and watched the Mobius footage back, I had to think to myself, it really wasn't adrenaline filled as I thought. Perhaps I was being just a big girl about it and it wasn't as scary after all. But when I looked at the DVR footage I had for my last 2 flights, it gave me a little bit more of an impression about what was happening. The reduced resolution and detail and the colours being represented slightly differently really do serve, I think, to flatten the perspective out. So I'm hoping you can see it's a lot harder to pick out which tree is sort of before what tree when you're just flying along like this. That's how I found it anyway. I mean, obviously coupled with the static that you get as well, it made for some interesting flying. But as I say, a couple of lipos in, and I seem to get the general feel for this. So it's certainly good fun. I'll keep practicing this sort of flying and find plenty of other spots where perhaps the trees are a bit thicker, or there's some nice pathways through it. Anyway, that's my story for now. I will see you next time.